Hello and welcome to a new episode of AUC Observer. This is Marina Salema, and today we will have several reports on what has been happening in and out of AUC this week. At the end of the episode, we will interview Karim Hatem, a newscast presenter at CBC Extra News, to talk about covering conflicts and wars in the media. Learning, labor, leadership are the three L's power which play a vital role in every working woman's life. How to achieve sustainable development through these three definitions? The answer is in the upcoming report by Noha Saad.
Labor Day, what does it mean to women? It may mean accessing strengths they didn't know they had. A workshop was organized by Tomorrow's Leaders Gender Scholars Program on Labor Day to mainstream gender and build a culture of inclusiveness at AUC and beyond.
Well, we know from research that women are really needed, and we know the effective role that women play in the Egyptian society, and we wanted to raise awareness about this. So we thought about this theme today in particular because it's Labor Day, and we wanted to raise awareness about the role of women and the necessary empowerment that they need to be effective agents in their communities and the society in general.
Learning, labor, and leadership, or the three L's, are the most vital skills for women empowerment, which is one of the important paths to sustainable development.
Women empowerment is one of the most important aspects if we really want to address sustainable development and if we really want to achieve the sustainable development goals. Women empowerment is all about education, is all about learning, is all about enhancing the economic participation of women. Women form 50% of the society, so having them not active enough means we are wasting our resources. So educate women, allow them to participate in the labor market if we really want to achieve sustainable development.
The gender-sensitive policy is about addressing the different needs and priorities of all persons regardless of their sex.
Among the ways that we can enhance the economic participation of women is to make sure that laws are enforced, policies are adopted, and more so gender-sensitive policies are adopted. And among these gender-sensitive policies are pro-family policies in general. Policies that support the role of women inside the household, but also allow her to actively participate in the labor market.
In a community where women are sacrificing their own well-being for the sake of their baby and family, young women may think another time about empowerment and what it really means.
We can never achieve the 7% increase in sustainable development without integrating women, because women are a great asset in our human capital, and we can never do this alone.
Ensuring that all members of the community are equally valued makes the world more productive and peaceful. And that's what AUC tried to prove on Labor Day through this workshop. Noha Saad, AUCTV, Cairo.
Children with special needs are an integral part of the community. Therefore, many efforts have been recently focusing on supporting them and their families. One of these efforts is Beyond Limits. It's an event organized at Kidzania on April 20th by Twasil and Peace of Heart. Those are a center and an online platform specializing in children's developmental disorder like Down syndrome and autism. How can Beyond Limits and similar events support kids with developmental disorder? Ghada Hashish has more details for us in this report.
In collaboration with Kidzania, Beyond Limits was an event organized by Twasil and Peace of Heart for children with developmental disorders and their families.
الهدف من الايفنت ان مش بس نفضل نتكلم احنا من ورا الكواليس ومن غير ما نبين للاولاد. احنا لازم نبين للاولاد ان كل طفل مختلف، وان كل طفل عنده احتياجاته، وان كل طفل عنده مهاراته.
We want people to be able to accept and integrate those with different disorders, different challenges into the community. The more we do events like these and the more we show them to the environment, to the society, the more we expose them to the society, the more we'll actually reach the awareness, acceptance and integration.
After the organizers welcomed the attendees, Rahma Khalid, Egypt's first Down syndrome TV presenter, gave a talk highlighting the role of the kids' families.
أنا شايفة إن طبعاً الأهالي لازم يكونوا عندهم الوعي وعندهم الفهم اللي ممكن يبقى أولادهم يبقى عندهم إعاقة ذهنية أو من ذوي متلازمة داون أو أوتيزم، المفروض يتعاملوا معاهم بطريقة يعني بطريقة حب، بطريقة التفاهم، بطريقة الحوار.
Following this, a fashion show was conducted by kids with developmental disorders. They wore T-shirts made by Piece of Heart and were assisted by their parents or siblings on stage when needed. The attendees cheerfully interacted with the fashion show, which was chosen by the organizers as a suitable fun activity for the children.
حسينا ان دي حاجه ممكن تساعدهم اكتر ان هم يexpress themselves بطريقه very simple and very safe، ما فيهاش ان اي حاجه تخليهم يتاذوا سواء من الناس اللي حواليهم او من اي حاجه، وحسينا ان دي حاجه هتبسطهم.
After the show, Carla, an autistic girl, gave a singing performance. Later, the event was concluded by an open discussion for the children's families on their personal experiences and the areas requiring more attention in the future.
أنا بالنسبة لي شايفة إن أكتر حاجة ما اشتغلناش عليها في حتة السبيشال نيدز هي إخوات السبيشال نيدز. هيحسوا قد ايه هم مهمين في الحته دي، في الفيلد ده هيدوا فيها اكتر.
ممكن عشان ننشر الوعي والمجتمع يعرفهم اكتر ان احنا نعمل ايفنتات زي دي كتير، تبقى في اماكن عامه، في نوادي، في مدارس، في جامعات، بحيث المجتمع يتقبلهم اكتر.
Events like Beyond Limits represent an opportunity to raise awareness and instill acceptance within the society to create a better future for children with developmental disorders. Ghaida Hashish, AUCTV, Cairo.
Egyptians celebrate their Eid al-Fitr break in many different ways, and for Cairo residents, escaping by the sea is very common to chill and spend quality time with their loved ones. More in the upcoming report by Nariman Khalid.
With the arrival of Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of Ramadan, people engage in preparations and plans on how and where they will spend the Eid vacation. With only 1.5 hour drive from Cairo, you can get to chill and spend quality time with your family and friends by the Red Sea. They use boat trips in the town of Ain al-Sukhna, or the hot spring in English, are very popular. The experienced crew of sailors can take you out on the waters for as long as you want, and can even provide fishing equipment and cooked lunch on board for an extra cost.
أنا حاتم صاحب مركب أبو عاصم في العين السخنة. عامة في رحلات شباب وفي رحلات صيد وفي رحلات أعياد ميلاد وفي رحلات مثلا الناس بتحتفل بخطوبتها أو بفرحها. اللي عدى عندنا بيبقى 10 أفراد وفي 15 فرد. واليوم بنطلع من 6 الصبح ل 4 العصر، وفي اوقات بنطلع من 4 العصر لتاني يوم 5 الصبح، وفي اوقات بنطلع 36 ساعة. طريقة الحجز بتبقى فيه ممكن على التليفون او البادج بتاع المركب.
أنا العيد بالنسبة لي فرحة عشان بلمة أولادي وأحفادي حواليا.
السنة دي أول عيد أحس بحاجة جديدة، عشان أنا دايما بقضي العيد والأيام العادية مع أصحابي، فالعيد بيبقى دايما نقضيه مع العيلة أحسن، ودي أول سنة أجي أجرب الصيد، وحاسس بالعيد ده إن في حاجة مميزة فيه، عشان قعدت مع عيلتي وعملت حاجة جديدة، اصطدت وجربت تجربة جديدة.
عين السخنة clear waters and varied marine life make a boat trip irresistible. You can also dive and swim, but the weather that day wasn't sunny enough, so chilling and enjoying the spectacular mountains was a great escapism from the city life. نريمان خالد، AUCTV.
The AUC music program resumes its concert after a spring break with favorite pop songs played by a classical string quartet. More in the upcoming report by Abdullah Hussein.
After the spring break and the holidays, the AUC music program resumes its concerts at Malak Gabri Theatre. Every semester, the music program hosts a series of concerts, professional at the beginning of each semester and student concert by the end of each semester. However, this concert was special as it was a sort of professional and student concert.
This evening I particularly enjoyed the fact that students proposed the repertoire of well-known songs and proposed musically in a way that the public wouldn't expect.
It was presented by an AUC music major, Judith Ottendorfer, with a group of professional musicians. It was played in a string quartet, who were a group of 4 musicians, 2 violins, a viola, and a cello, played a variety of popular songs, such as Wrecking Ball and Sky Full of Stars.
عملية إن أنت تركب اللايرز ذات نفسها محتاجة مجهود، عكس القراية، وهي مش قراية وبس، لازم كمان تركيب اللايرز ذات نفسها، الأصوات فوق بعضها تبقى مظبوطة وكل حاجة تبقى نازلة ببعض. ده اللي بيميز أكتر الكوارتيت عموما. السترينجز كوارتيت بتحتاج إن اللايرز تبقى مسموعة وفي نفس الوقت تبقى موصولة ببعض كويس وتبقى متماسكة.
The concerts allow students to enjoy the performance of professional musicians and perform as well in front of a wider audience.
There are many positive things that come from these concerts. To promote the program and to showcase our students, to introduce students to new types of music or high quality music. Another thing we like to do is explore the intersection between Arab and Western music. Sometimes we program concerts that do that because it sort of fits in with AUC's mission, you know, what AUC is.
They are free and open to the public. This is Abdullah Hussein, AUCTV, Cairo.
The local products market has been growing tremendously due to the inflation and the high prices of imported products. We will know more about what kind of Egyptian products is being produced through a journey to a bazaar market in the upcoming report by Reem Khattab.
In one of Cairo's affluent neighborhoods, a bazaar market was held introducing many local brands and products that are made in Egypt. With the increase of prices, people tend to look for products that are produced locally because of its better pricing in comparison with imported products. The market had many products starting from fashion items like apparel and handmade bags.
حسيت ان اللوكال براندز يعني دلوقتي هي احسن بكتير من ان احنا نروح نشتري براندات من بره او حاجه، وفي نفس الوقت الماتيريالز هي يعني اولموست الماتيريالز حلوه، حتى الخامات اللي احنا بنشتريها من هنا سواء هدوم او شنط او اي حاجه كلها احسن بكتير من بره، وفي نفس الوقت احنا اسعارنا ارخص.
Clothes, bags, and mostly all products are now produced in Egypt with a quality that competes with other international brands. Business owners tend to focus on giving their brand an Egyptian name, like Sit and Hikaya Badawiya. Not only fashion, but also home accessories was a huge part of the market.
احنا البرودكت بتاعتنا كلها هاند ميد، كلها ميد ان ايجيبت، مفيش حاجه بنستوردها من بره، كل حاجه بتتعمل هنا في مصر. الماتيريال نفسها بتبقى اصلا صناعه مصريه، هي كلها حاجات طبيعيه، هي فخار بنعملها هنا، بتكون في مصر، وبتبقى الاسعار بتاعتها الطف شويه من الاسعار لو حاجه مثلا مستورده، بالنسبه طبعا الدولار غلي، فالحاجات بالنسبه لنا هنا هتبقى شكلها شيك، وفي نفس الوقت السعر بتاعها احسن من السعر بتاع المستورد.
Other brands focuses on a Western look and feel, packaging and branding that competes with other international brands, like for example, Flames for Candles, which was present in the market.
عندنا عاملين اختراعات، الكونتينرز كلها مختلفة عن الكونتينرز اللي في الماركت، منها الماربل زي ده هاند ميد برضو في مصر كله، وده بوتري. البوتري عاملين الفكرة الجديدة اللي هي بتاعت البوكت مع الماتشز جواها، وطبعا الوودن ويك ده لسه نازله برضو الماركت بتاع الكاندلز الجديده. فانا كل همي ان احنا نعمل حاجات جديده ونعمل افكار جديده نبقى بنجدد فيها من الماركت بتاع الكاندل. اكبر تشالنج بالنسبه لي هو الحاجات اللي انا ببقى مجبره اجيبها من بره، سام اكسسوارز اللي هي بيها هعرف اكمل البرودكت المصري كله، فهو ده بس التشالنج الوحيد.
Adding to home accessories, Haya will tell us more about her 100% handmade products.
بس ايه المميز بالبرودكت بتاعي؟ ان هو بنجيب خامات احلى حاجه، ما بنجيبش اي حاجه، يعني ما بنجيبش حاجات رخيصه عشان نبيعها وتكلفه قليله، لا بالعكس احنا بنجيب حاجات خامات حلوه قوي وباسعارنا يعني يعني مقارنه بالسوق حلوه قوي قوي يعني.
The market was full of food, jewelry, cosmetics, and more products that are all made in Egypt with Egyptian hands. This is Reem Khattab reporting to AUCTV, Cairo.
Our guest for today is Karim Hatem, an AUC alumni, Kamal Adham Center graduate and a news anchor at CBC Extra News with extensive experience in digital and broadcast media. Stay tuned. Covering conflicts and wars is difficult in the media industry. How do media presenters deal with such challenges and conflicts? We know more from our dear guest Karim Hatem. Hi Karim, welcome to our AUC Observer. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. So first of all, we need from you to tell us about the challenges do journalists face in covering conflicts and wars.
Okay, well first, when any conflicts happen, it's a breaking story. So first challenge is a personal one, because our schedules mix up all the time, because we work on a 24-hour shift, so it's a kind of a physical, personal, mental challenge for all of us as television presenters. We work long shifts, and we try to stay focused on the air, and it's always breaking news after breaking news. So when you're on the air and there is a breaking news that's coming in, you hear it from your producer in your earpiece. So the information that you have is very limited. And this is always the challenge for any journalist, is how to get information and to provide information for the viewers. And so this is the first challenge in trying to focus when you're mentally tired and you're physically tired, and trying to deal with the information that is coming when you actually still don't know what's happening. Of course, in the control room, where the producers are doing most of the research and the source hunting, rises challenges that, of course, differ from story to story, but it's always trying to verify sources, trying to get guests on the air to comment, trying to bring or to get our field reporters in place in the field. So different challenges also in the control room.
So it's a continuing process of learning to be focused all the time in front of the camera, right?
Yes, it's a marvelous feeling, but it's a very hard challenge.
So how can journalists ensure objectivity and maintain a distance from all parties during their coverage?
I think this is the main issue for any journalist from day one when he starts his job, is to abide by the media ethics and code of ethics for journalists, and trying to be objective always, and to maintain the distance of all parties in the conflict. But for me, I mean, I'm not entitled to say what is right or what is wrong, but I can have an opinion. So I belong to the school that says, or I'm more convinced of this theory or this line, that is, you can be objective, but you can never be neutral when covering any story.
Okay, so how can journalists ensure that they are not misled or influenced by the information they receive, in favor of one party in the conflict?
Well, this is the profession of a journalist. He's trained to verify sources, to know which sources he can trust. But it's very important for journalists to have more than one source confirming a story. And of course, any journalist who is trained and who studied journalism understands that there are sources such as officials, government officials, for example, that give you the information that is official and is the official position of a government, whatever the story is. There are sources that you can identify as reporters in the field. So you trust your reporter who gathers information, who gathers news, who talks with eyewitnesses, who he or she they are in the field witnessing what is happening.
So according to the ethical consideration that should journalists follow when interviewing victims or relatives of victims in that they are in trauma and try to survive from the war or something like that. So how you can deal with this?
Well, this is a very important point. There is a general code of ethics, and then there is a code of ethics that is specific to each and every network. So, of course, the general code of ethics when covering news is that, first of all, even before interviewing anyone, you are not really advised to show on your footage lying people on the ground or people that are who have been shot on the ground or dead people, corpse, if I may say, on the ground. And you see the major news agencies, when they send their footage to the networks, they do not include these kind of footages. So this is number one. Number two is that you have to be very considerate to when you're interviewing a victim or you're interviewing someone in a conflict zone. And there is a challenge here, because you want to gather as much information and you want to get the information out of the interviewee for the public, but you have to have the goal of pursuing the story, not pursuing the exclusive or pursuing the scoop as the top priority. You want to share the story, you want to tell the story, but you just not, it's not just about having a breaking story that would gather many views and have an eruption or an explosion of views on YouTube or
like
whatever.
Without hurting anyone with these videos and hurting the victims himself or herself, right?
Exactly.
So according to the stories, how journalists choose the stories they cover in conflict, and what angles and topics they should focus on during the coverage?
Okay, again, each and every network has its own school and has its own guidelines and guidebook that they abide by in covering stories and in choosing the priorities. So it differs if you are a Middle Eastern regional network. So your top priority stories are going to be regional, not local. Okay. So and you can see the difference in coverage between networks. Okay. So for example, if you have, I'm going to give an example of a worldwide famous network, the BBC. Okay. You have BBC that covers worldwide news, and you have BBC that covers European news, for example, and you have BBC that covers British local news, and you have BBC that covers even counties or small cities in the United Kingdom, for example.
It depends on the geographical area that they are
it depends on the networks, the network's guidelines. Each and every network has a journalistic guidebook or guideline, and this is how the network put its priorities or put the stories in priorities in its coverage.
So what methods can a journalist use to separate their emotions and reactions about the stories they witness from their objectivity when they covering the war? Okay. Well, there is no a certain type of method that we all follow. It's of course, experience is a very important tool. So someone who's been in the field for 10 years is going to be different from someone who is still entering the field, is different from someone who's been in the field for 25 or 30 years. Definitely when, if I'm going to talk personally, when I first started, I had
difficulties to separate my emotions from the stories that I'm covering. Especially that I graduated in a time when there was a lot of local problems here in Egypt. But at the same time, there is no problem for a journalist to have an emotional feeling towards the story. It's actually sometimes it sometimes gives a flavor to the story, okay? Because you're studying journalism, broadcast journalism, so you understand that the most important element in a story is the human, is the people. This is what we're working for, and so we're telling the stories of people for people. So sometimes people can argue with me that you have to be completely neutral. I cannot say that this is possible. You can be objective, but the emotional element with the story, it's what differs us from the cameras. It's why we are holding the cameras. It differs also a journalist from another journalist. So you can report a story in Far East Asia. You will report it from a point of view, and you can be completely objective, and an Asian or a South American or an African can report the same story with a different point of view, and all the stories can be objective.
So by the end of our discussion today, we want from you to give us your advice for young journalists who want to cover wars and conflict in the future.
My advice is that deal with journalism as if it's not a job. It's a life. You're always watching news. You're always living. You're always reading. Your job. You're reading. You're living. You're experiencing your job. This is what differs us, or differs journalism from any other job. This is probably my only advice.
It's a pleasure to having you with us, Kareem, today. So thank you so much for your time. So see you next show.